Good evening, and welcome to the final episode of The Conversation Season 2. I'm your host, Robin Vernon. Viewers, over the past few months, we have covered a variety of inspiring and deep topics ranging from domestic violence to what it's like being a teen mother in today's society, overcoming alcohol and drug abuse, and even the more inspirational, like enjoying life as a blind person and really overcoming the challenges that it faces. And as of recently, even interviewing Cara Young, a Belizean American who is our first, actually, to be nominated for a Tony Award. We have truly only scratched the surface, though, when it comes to the stories that Belizeans can tell. So in the future, you can bet that we're actually coming back for a season 3. Tonight, with me, I have two very talented guests. I have Richard Pitts, a well-known musician, composer, pianist, and musical arranger, and his colleague Loreto Pelayo sitting with us tonight to talk about what it's like being a creative in Belize, but specifically a musician in Belize. So, to get started, tell us a little bit about yourself, Richard.
Well, I have been a music educator for over 15 years. I have been known, I'm known more in the marching band scene as a music teacher. I founded 3 wonderful programs, and I'm hoping that, they just revive.
Okay, and yourself, Loreto?
I am a pianist and guitarist, and I'd say that my defining characteristic musical is that I'm passionate about straight ahead jazz music. I currently have the only jazz combo in Belize that is dedicated to straight ahead jazz music. I'm very passionate about it. What can I say?
That's awesome. So, before we get into it, I just have to ask the obvious question. I'll ask each of you. Richard, starting with you. What's your favorite instrument? The sax, maybe?
Oh,
All? Every single one.
every single one.
Love them all equally.
Yep.
No discrimination. I love it. And you, Loreto?
Yeah, I have a bit of a more complex answer in this one. I've been going back and forth on this a lot. Richard Pitts has weighed in on this piano versus guitar topic before, but we won't go there. I'm leaning towards guitar because there's with a piano, like you go to the gig, maybe a piano is there, maybe you have your keyboard, whatever. With a guitar, like it's so personal. Like your instrument says a lot about you. Like if you're using a hollow body, you're clearly like a jazzman. If you're using a Telecaster Strat, like you lean to rock, and then like the strings you use and everything, the amp you use, it gives a lot of character.
So it's like every minute piece of the instrument says a lot about your musical taste and the genre that you're catered towards?
Yes, and like
Okay.
for me, I'm very picky about my amps. I try to go for like vintage tube amps. For guitars, you'll never see me playing anything that's not a hollow body guitar. But that's my preference. That's what I like.
I love the idea of being able to sit and speak with artists, and they can give me such unique takes on the type of instruments as well as the type of like equipment that they use. Say like for something like that, like a hollow body, like why a hollow body?
A lot of it comes down to, I guess, the history of the music, because jazz developed in the early 1900s, and at the time, the most common form of guitar was a hollow body guitar. So that's like an acoustic guitar with F holes. That's like what you'd see on, I guess, like a violin, as opposed to the circle round hole.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, the first electric guitar was just one of these acoustic hollow bodies with electromagnetic pickup attached to it. And because of that, the time period, the style, all of this just it's part of jazz culture. Like
Okay.
it's jazz, and especially straight ahead jazz. It's not just listening to the music or playing the lines or whatever. There's a deep, I feel like, almost
Appreciation.
religious element to it. I'd say.
That's so interesting. And Richard, why jazz? Why choose jazz? Why?
I haven't really chosen jazz. It's just something that I guess chose me. Growing up, when I was younger, you know, the music scene in Belize was really good. Whatever is happening today is not something that just whoop, is happening, you know. They've always been good. The music industry have always had its highs and its lows. And fortunately for me, back then, I was taught by someone who plays jazz, right, and have that kind of exposure. And so I was exposed to it very early. And it's very fascinating being able to create spontaneously. It's one of the things that have always intrigued me about being a musician. And so my style tend to lean towards jazz, which basically is not something that is categorized by genre, right? Jazz is not a swing, it's not a slow, it's not an old song, it's not a new song. Jazz is about your ability to create spontaneously in the moment, in real time, right? And that's what jazz is.
I was going to say, but I was nervous at the time because I never wanted to seem like ignorant towards the style of music, which is jazz. But I did notice that throughout my years listening to jazz and appreciating the music, I did find a very special art to the idea of just attending a live showing and you're taking in the music and it sounds beautiful, it sounds practiced, it sounds so like repeated, so rehearsed, yet you sit there and you think that this is all improvised, this is all each member feeding off of the other member's flow, their energy, what they're putting out, and then it all comes together and brings this melody to the stage and to the audience. And I was always deeply fascinated by that, specifically when it comes to jazz music, the improvisation of it all. It was always a beautiful art to behold, I have to say.
Yes, because it's like what I said earlier. It's the way how we label things sometimes puts us in trouble, right? And I just want to promote musicianship. And jazz is what I categorize to be the ultimate level of being a musician. Because you see, the average musician writes, sit down behind whatever, sit down in a studio, get together just like us, rehearse, create stuff. But jazz is not that. Jazz is every single thing musical. One of the things that I've been trying to teach Loretta, is you have to feel every single note from here, right? Nothing is wrong. Nothing is wrong. It's just about feeling it from here and bringing it out. Every single idea. And musicianship, to be a jazz player, it is required that you have a whole lot of musicianship, mm-hmm. right?
And with that requirement of a whole lot of musicianship, it requires a lot of material to be able to research, to be able to study, to be able to just hone your skills. In Belize, for an aspiring musician, what would you say are some of the biggest challenges that one faces here in our country? We can start with you, Loretto.
I guess for me, one of the challenges I've faced, especially in this genre, is when you look at a lot of the greats, jazz greats that existed, they didn't exist in a vacuum. Like take Charlie Parker, one of the greatest bebop saxophonists. He didn't just show up one day, said, screw everybody else, I'm just going to do my own thing and start. He came from this lineage of musicians, and he was able to, they could mentor him, and then he would be able to develop his own style out of there. For me, I'd say that the biggest hurdle, more than education, because right now we live in a digital age, any information you want, you can find on the internet. Any theoretical musical idea you want to learn, there's from simplest scales to Jacob Collier teaching negative harmony that no one will ever use. But the point I'm trying to make here is that in Belize, there's a really small amount of musicians, and especially to find like my vision of jazz that I'm going for. Having like a mentor, someone like I can just look up to and like come and play guitar with and teach me something new. Being in like that culture, I feel like it's very lacking, and I think that the musical culture is far more important than an institution.
Okay, wow, that's very insightful. And you, Richard?
Um, the biggest challenge for musicians and artists is circumstance. You see, it's like what I said before. This is not the first. If you're looking on the music scene right now in Belize and you see this big explosion of artists popping up everywhere, and there's this big support for music. It's not something that just happened. It's something that have been happening over and over and over, but it's circumstantial. It's like when you need us, right? That's when you remember us.
Mm.
But when you don't need us, that's it.
You're at the back.
If you look all the way back in the past, there were a lot of great bands. Great bands. Look at some of the icons. Do you remember them? Who remembers Mr. Peters?
A small handful, I'd
Who
say.
remember Lila Raymond? Lord Raymond is still alive. Who remembers him? It's just circumstantial. And that's the musician's greatest challenge in this country, right? There's a season for everything in the country, and it's something that I am experiencing as a music agent. And that there are times when it's so slow, they don't want to hire us. They can't afford it. They don't have the clientele, right? But something wonderful happened. Something really wonderful happened, and there was a catalyst that basically propelled us into right now what appears to be a very prosperous age for us.
That's really good. I'm absolutely glad to hear that, because our artists could do with more of what's happening today.
Yeah.
Well, so far, it's been a great conversation, very insightful, but viewers, hold on, we'll take a short break and we'll be right back. Welcome back, viewers. We are having a delightful conversation here in the beautiful Ochuna Restaurant and Lounge, one of Belize's hottest places, I might add. I'm sitting with Richard Pitts and Loreto Pelayo, two fascinating performers, if I do say so myself. So, in our earlier conversation, you two have been sharing how passionate you are about the music, and you've been sharing how circumstances are one of the many challenges that one may face as an aspiring musician here in Belize. But now I need to ask, right? Can Belizean musicians truly make a living off of music in Belize? Like, is it possible?
It have always been possible. It have always been possible, and I discovered that, just recently. I used to be a teacher for such a long time. I didn't have the amount of exposure I needed. Because there are only a few of us in the country, right? Music teachers. And we have been dedicated because they come to us for everything. So we don't have time to practice. We don't have time to venture out. We might do a little show here and there, but if you're actually immersed in it, you will get to see for yourself that there are opportunities. I remember way back about 6 years, there was this resort manager that I did a wedding. They called me up for a private event, and after I finished playing, he sat and talked with me. He's like, "Hey, bro, why are you so expensive?" I said, "Because I have to come out here and I have to pay for this and pay for that, and it's just one singular event." And he's like, "What if you make $300 a night? How would you feel? If you'd be able to make $300 a night, $100 an hour, do a 3-hour performance, right? That's quite a lot of money for the week." And I'm like, "Nah, I am happy getting my guaranteed salary every month. I'm good, right? I never believed in it. Honestly, I didn't.
Wow.
And then COVID came, and then this catalyst, which is COVID,
Yeah.
right? That propel us because you guys couldn't live without us, right? You all forget us before COVID, and during COVID now you all remember that we existed, right? And for the most part, we invested to entertain our country,
Yeah.
right? We gave, even though for the most part, most of us didn't receive anything, we gave a lot.
And the entertainment industry actually took a major blow for real within the COVID times.
Yeah, it did.
And
But that was a good thing. That was a good thing, right? Because there were people who were starving before, and
That's
now they're
true.
eating.
That's
right?
true. It gave people a chance to see their
COVID really
potential.
didn't make a difference, to be honest with you. For most, right?
Yeah.
For the big names, yeah, they got less gigs and what's not. But for the people that were not all the way up there, which basically that's the people that I represent, like Loreto, the unknowns, right?
I was going to ask next, like, music is definitely a way out of poverty if we support it. I feel, right? We're seeing a lot more young people, as you two have stated, right, who are turning the field of music as a career, which, as you previously answered, is possible. It is possible to foster a musical career here.
It is possible.
Right? But how important is it, I'm sorry, to inspire the future generation to pursue and take music seriously? I can start with Loreto for that one.
Well, honestly, for me, it's something passionate. I've only recently delved into, I guess, the business side of things with Pitz's company, Talent Quest, who would get me gigs out in San Pedro or some other gigs I get on my own. Like as I mentioned to you before we had this discussion, I am an entrepreneur. I do other things besides music, and that income allows me to support my music. Without that, I wouldn't be able to buy the gear that I have, the instruments that I have, and I think that maybe that's a hurdle for the beginning musician, because while I have the flexibility to buy gear that I like, that the beginning musicians, they're limited by what's economically feasible for them to have. They won't be thinking about buying a tube amp because tube amps are expensive and tube amps are heavy and it's hard to gig and there's no aux in port and a whole bunch of things. And so this impacts the gear that they buy, the instruments that they use, the types of music that they play. If I was in this from financial incentive, I wouldn't be able to be such a stickler about jazz. I'd probably have to play more common music that would get a larger audience.
Okay, so you would consider yourself a direct result of the possibilities of supporting aspiring artists, where you were assisted and supported through Richard's company, and it helped you to be able to foster yourself at a higher level compared to other people who may be pursuing the same pursuit but not like have that level of resource or assistance.
I'm actually laser focused in what I do, right? So in terms of financial feasibility, it is, what I'm laser focused on is musician with abilities, right? What the agent does is we source out some of the best, as best as we can. We bring them in, we listen to them, we give them auditions, and if they make it, then we give them the opportunity to gig, right? The way how we do things is that we, after assessing the performer, right, we do a profile. And then we take that profile and we sell it to the venues that would like to have them there performing. The most important thing for a musician is that the musician needs to be able to give return on investment, right? So nobody wants to hire someone that can't do a long enough set, or someone that's not versatile enough, or someone that basically just doesn't have the quality, right? So in terms of equipment and things like that, it makes a big difference in your sound and what you have to offer, but it also costs.
All right, so as a scout and facilitator of these talented musicians, how important would you say that it is for like to maybe push harder on the creative arts earlier on in schools so that the students, the children, can have an earlier start on their musical pursuits? Would you say that it's important and it's something that we could actually push harder on?
Yeah, it's extremely important. It's like what I was saying before, right? We got nothing. You know, most of us basically learn from self-taught, right? Music is a viable industry in the country. If you look at one single DJ, right? And I'm gonna come to the school. If you look at one single DJ, right? Take a restaurant like this. One single DJ. People won't come here if there is not a DJ, if there's nothing happening, right? If it's a reputable DJ, they would come and they'll be like, okay, yeah, that DJ is good. We're gonna go and spend there. So the business itself makes money, right? But then when you think about the amount of equipment that DJ have to purchase, right? If you think about the person that makes the flyer for the event, that person is also making money. If you think about the street people, them after the event is over, that basically sells the food at the end of the day, right? So if you think about the spillover business, right? One single entertainer brings all that business to so much people. It brings business to the establishment. It brings business to the outside vendors that sells outside. It brings business to the people that does media and marketing. That one single person, all right? And so why is it important for us to push it in school? It's because in Belize there aren't a lot of opportunities, right? And as a music teacher for so many years, I have always instilled in my students when they question me about, Mr. Pace, why is this important for me to learn music in school, right? Is this going to be graded? And my response is always the same. Sir, mom, you can make money from this.
I like that.
Right? Because I am making money from this.
Okay. Now on to our next question then. Loretto, SJCJC has a degree for musicians now. How big would you say is that for future generations of aspiring musicians?
Well, it really depends on, I guess, the objectives of the musicians going into that degree program. I'm familiar relatively with the degree program. The drummer from my band, Josh, went to the program. And everyone gets different benefits from it. Personally, I don't know enough about it to say objectively, but from what I've seen, with an associate's degree, a high school will hire you to teach music. I know that SGC gives like scholarships to some of the top students, and then they go to like Loyola University or one of there's opportunities. Whether it will make a big impact in the music scene, that remains to be seen, but it's not a bad thing.
With something like that, you would say that like only time will tell, right? It's something that you would have to see.
Yeah, I think it's like a small step in creating that musical culture that I talk about, and I guess anything adding to that growing musical culture can only be a good thing.
Okay, good. I know previously, with one of the questions that I asked, you both have said that you've definitely noticed an increase in musicians and their presence as well as the musical scene within Belize. So would you say that as a society, we're slowly beginning to see really the value in our musical arts as well as our musical culture, and we're actually beginning to develop an economic benefit from this, like an economic growth from this very present culture?
As a society, we are evolving, and the evolution is really good. The growth is really good. You're talking about the junior college. You go back before the junior college, you talk about the high school music programs. Go before that, about Festival of Arts, primary school. With all of these young children displaying their abilities and just basically maturing with their skills. Um, what I'm about to say, I don't want to be offensive, but although we are growing and we're evolving, we're still all the way behind. We're all the way behind, right? And what I see happening today is a lot of reckless hype, right? And it's something that we need to tame. And the positive thing is about this whole growth with the music industry is that within our generation, within my generation, I finally got to see Belizean supporting Belizean artists, right? And I am hoping that we do not take a step back way, right? Because it's kind of slowly inching there, right?
Towards regression?
Yeah, it's kind of slowly inching there, but not in a sense that Belizeans are not supporting Belizean artists, but Belizeans are not supporting the Belizean identity. And that's one of the things that I believe is being lost, right? Even with me playing jazz, even I am guilty of this, right? Something is being lost. There's a lot of evolution going on, but we have to be very careful, right? Especially with the mainstream music that's happening right now. I think the messaging, what is coming out of the music, right? Now we have an opportunity as artists. We have an opportunity where we have the full backing of our country. And I think we need to take full advantage of what is happening right now. And we need to kind of, right, be careful.
I agree. It's a sensitive time. It's when the growth is at its most important. So the standard that we set will be the standard taken moving forward. I agree.
And then the thing about this is that musicians, artists are the most powerful human beings on the face of the earth because we are the holders of culture, right? We're the holders of identity, right? Our music and our art and everything that we are as a people will live on. We have to take what the love that the people are giving to us and influence a positive society.
I agree.
Right? Because it's like, okay, yeah, we can fill now an audience with thousands of people, thousands of Belizeans that would come out and pay. They will pay for us. And when we get there on the stage, what are we going to sing for them? What are some of the music that we were writing, right, to influence our culture? So it's with the jazz and the what I'm promoting is not really jazz, period. I'm promoting musicianship, right? You come and display the rise ability that you have, right? Push it to the very max. New generation, that's what it's about, right? Our concert series is about promoting the farthest extent of your abilities. Whether you're a singer, whether you're a musician, it doesn't matter, right? Come here to this show. If you come here to this show, or you come here and listen to us play, basically you will get in everything that we have. Because, you know, the Belizean audience, you're worth it. You know, this is a big thank you for what, you know, the support that you have been given to us.
Support and the love.
Yeah, so we have to be very careful what
agree.
we're doing as we move forward.
Well, now I have to ask, and I'll ask you both because I feel like you both have very important views as well as tips and advice to provide for aspiring artists. So, do you have any last words? Any helpful tips and advice that you can offer to aspiring musicians who are looking for a direction and a heading within the culture, the musical culture in Belize? We could start with you, Loretto.
It's funny, before you finished that sentence, my first word was going to be direction. And you ask me how to give them direction. I have no idea how. But for me, I feel like my most powerful asset as a musician is not my technique or my vocabulary that I have, or the instruments. I feel like my biggest asset as the musician that I am is my sense of direction, in that I know what I want to achieve, I know the music that I want to play, and I'm able to defend the music that I want to play. A lot of musicians, they exist in a void, and they may be directionless. And I feel like knowing, even if it's whatever it is, knowing where you want to go and having set goals to get there, is something that has indescribable value to it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Loretto. I appreciate that, and I'm sure the aspiring viewers will appreciate that just as much. And you, Richard?
My advice is for everybody, general across the board, right? As an artist, you have to develop the will, right, to starve. You have to develop the will to endure starvation, because it comes with the territory, you know. You also need to have the strength, right, to deal with rejection.
I feel like that's an important one, if I could interrupt for a second, because rejection can really put an entire
Rejection is
venture
good.
at full stop. Yeah,
Rejection is
it
good.
either makes or breaks
Listen to me.
you.
And this is what I'm talking about in terms of advice, right? There are 4 experiences that you must have to make you holistic. If you have those 4 experiences and you learn from them, I'm not saying you'll be rich, but I know you won't starve, right? 1, you have to have that learning experience. You see, we are all born with natural abilities, right? And when I say have that learning experience, I don't mean formal training, because there are lots of great self-taught musicians, like my friend over this side. I am amazed by what he can do at his age. I could never do what he is able to do now. And he's self-taught. Amazing, right? So you have to have that learning experience, right? Where you basically train your body, train yourself to, make music happen. The second thing you must have is that performing experience. Because with performing experience, right, it doesn't have to be a paid show. Probably for your family members, it doesn't matter, right? Because within that performing experience, you feel the love. You get the opportunity to feel appreciated. Wow, this person liked what I just did. I'm going to do that again. But that performing experience also gives you the rejection, where people will critique what you do. And that is important that you humble yourself to those, because it helps you to grow, right? And if you have not passed that stage, it can take you to the 3rd experience, which is the creative experience. Every musician creates. Some, right, duplicate what others do. That's great. You're still creating. But to invent, to create, to make something new, right? That's an experience that you need to have. Because it's then you start to listen back to yourself and say, wow, I made that. Oh, wow, I sound good. Or you know what? If you learn from the second experience about accepting rejection and criticism, if you're not able to criticize yourself, that's it for you. You will not go beyond where you are today. If you can say, you know what, he's right, I need to work on this, you will not grow, right? And the final and most important experience that you need to have is the experience of being a mentor. Because you might not teach the person, but a simple word of advice is enough. It can help that person, like point him in the right direction. Bro, you should practice this. Try listening to that, right? Try being more patient, right? And when you take on that mentorship, right, you will realize that you know quite more.
Then you let on to believe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because then your ultimate goal is to have your protege be as
Great.
equal as you or even better. And if you cannot have those four experience, you're not a holistic. So that's my advice to you. Be a holistic
I love
artist.
I love
Not a
that.
rich. Don't strive for the fame and whatever. You want to know why? Because you're famous today and a dog learns to sing tomorrow. That's it for you.
I really
You
love that.
understand me? That's how the
Yeah.
entertainment business work. You're here one day, someone comes, some
Knocks you
unknown
right
comes,
out.
and that's it. You're done.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, thank
Or
you.
you screw up. You know.
Well, thank you
So
so
that's how it
much for
works.
that, Richard. I hear that you will be having an event soon.
Yeah.
A sort of musical fest, so to speak. Would you care to share a little bit about that?
I grew up with a group of really great musicians, and they formed themselves into the greatest band in the country. That band is the Center Stage Band. You know, one of the members I went to high school with. Actually, Center Stage is not fully complete. You know, it's not a trio. It's actually a quartet, and we are the apex musicians in the country, right? I blow a horn, and yes, I like to toot my own horn, right? Pun intended. But we are pong for pong, and every single member in the band has a unique quality and unique strength. And that's how we came together and we combined our efforts, and we were like, you know what? We have always been the musicians that everybody calls for everything, right? Why not try do our own show for once? And so we came together and we were like, you know what? Let's rehearse. Let's do our own thing, right? And so we are promoting the next generation of great musicians. So our show highlights virtuosity, you know, it highlights musicianship, fine art. Basically, this is not a show for the Orthodox. This is, you will come and you will hear things that you have never heard before in your life.
They're going to take in the abstract form.
Because
I love
it's not abstract. There's no such thing as abstract, by the way.
Really?
There is no such thing as abstract. All right? Who are you to determine what is abstract?
Oh, okay. Okay, I'll take that.
And what qualification do you have to determine what is not ordinary?
I like that.
Right? So basically, it's the musicians, the great musicians. We have Cindy Burgos, the violin girl.
I love her.
She is not a jazz musician, but she's the greatest violin player in the country.
She's phenomenal.
She does classical, she does pop, she does whatever you put in front of her to do. And she is one of those crossover musicians that's very important in the Belizean music scene, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so coming to this show, you'll be supporting great mass, and she's not just a musician, she's a master musician, right? You're talking about a prodigy, a self-taught jazz guitarist, right? I listened to him today, practicing along with us, and I was blown away by what he could do. It's like, wow, why wasn't I able to do that when I was his age? You know? Talking about Center Stage, I will be playing. We have, I invited some of the students from the sixth form program, because that program is really crucial for the country. Because I never had that opportunity. And even to just get an opportunity to study music in any institution is a hard thing. You know, you have to go through auditions, and then when you get there, the courses are very rigorous and they have no mercy on you. You have to be perfect. Here, it's a little bit different, you know. It's a nurturing program, basically, that takes you just as you are. And so, you know, we're going to work with you and try and see how far we can take you.
And when is the event?
It's at the end of the month, the the 29th of June. It's going to be a Wednesday right here at Ochuna.
Right here, good Ochuna.
And this is a
Gonna be
concert
beautiful, I
series.
imagine.
This is a concert series. So it's going to happen. We're going to have the show in different locations in the country.
Okay.
And I just want to highlight that here at Ochuna, this is the place, this will be the house. This will be the main place for the New Gen concert series, right? So, and we will try our best as long as we can afford it, because this is really taking a lot of money off my own personal pocket, right? So I have to be investing in this.
Okay.
But as long as I can sustain this, it's something that we will continue.
Awesome. Well, Richard, Loretto, thank you both so much for this. This has been a very insightful conversation, I feel. And I feel like our viewers can take a lot from this. Viewers, we will take our final break and we will be right back with a little treat from our two good friends here. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the conversation, viewers. We'll be closing off season 2 with a live performance by Richard Pitts and Center Stage. Take it away, guys. That was a spectacular performance. Richard, Loretto, again, we want to thank you so much for coming on and being, quite frankly, a really nice way to end off season 2 and for closing our beautiful, beautiful show. We couldn't think of a better way to do it without great music, right? I want to encourage all of you to follow Richard Pitts' social media pages so that you can stay up to date with where he'll be around the country and follow his amazing jazz career. And also, we want to thank you all for being with us over these past few months of the conversation for season 2. I again want to encourage you all to stay tuned for season 3, and at the same time, I want you to continue to follow CBTV as well as Colorblind's Facebook page for more amazing content. Until I see you all again, take care and good night.